Hi, my name is Madyson Neuzil, and today I will be presenting on the representation of racial inequality in two of the films I watched this quarter. The sociological theme I chose to encompass these films is race and ethnicity. The race of a person refers to their inherent biological traits, while ethnicity is dependent on culture. Both of these characteristics are used in these films to represent real-world discrimination against specific groups of people. Fair and accurate representation of race, ethnicity, and inequality are important in demonstrating a model of social change for an American audience. In this presentation, I will be referring to the films Crash and Remember the Titans. We will be taking a closer look into the accuracy of the representation of inequality and how the solutions are portrayed in the film. On top of analyzing the representations, I will also be bringing to light the powerful messages within these films. The first film I will be discussing is Crash. Crash is directed by Paul Haggis and Kazuyoshi Akutama. The film storyline is set in Los Angeles, California, and centers around about 15 individual characters who fall into all different categories concerning race, culture, age, and status. The directors create high-stress scenarios that force the characters to respond quickly and prejudiciously. Most of the characters play both good and bad roles throughout the film, serving to invite the audience to think more in depth about their interactions and what they mean. No real resolutions come at the end of the film, but the interactions between the characters are shockingly revealed. Overall, Crash influences the audience to take a different approach to the average interpretation of racial inequality. Haggis and Akutama push the idea that all of the characters are racist, but many of them are still relatively good people. They suggest that the heat-of-the-moment scenarios justify racial discrimination, and characters overcome with anger and stress should be relieved of some sort of responsibility. Personally, it seemed that the racial profiling between characters only proved to show the characters' true intentions and ideals. If these thoughts were the first thing that came to their mind when emotionally stressed, it is hard to imagine that their quote-unquote good actions were in fact genuine. The reading that complemented this film was from Chapter 4.2, written by Susan and Henry Garreau. They suggest that this piece lacks authenticity and inaccurately represents racism in society. The idea that this film suggests about racism seems to be unproductive. The film primarily focuses on the fear of the individual characters versus the socioeconomic impacts. The authors continue with this statement. In keeping with Haggis's understanding of how racist outbursts occur, racism is repeatedly represented in series of isolated rather than a systemic and institutional phenomenon that informs every aspect of daily life. Crash's inclusion of corruption within the police department was portrayed as individual manipulation, when really the problem stemmed from systemic tolerance without repercussion. The second film I have chosen to reflect on is Remember the Titans. Remember the Titans is directed by Boaz Yikin. The storyline is set in Alexandria, Virginia, 1971. The school board in this small town has decided to desegregate two high schools in the area. The T.C. Williams High School football team is the first section of the school that must embrace these new changes during football summer camp. Coach Boone and his team must learn to become united and protect each other to not only win the state championship, but also the hearts of Alexandria. Inequality in this film is represented individually. Each character partakes on their own journey to moral righteousness. Main characters, Jerry and Julius, have a rough start, but their relationship as teammates allows them the opportunity to gain respect for one another. As Gary recognizes that his initial racist thoughts about Julius were wrong, they become as close as brothers. Their relationship is especially relevant as it sets the tone for the rest of the team's interaction, as they both maintain leadership positions as captains of the football team. Although Gary changes his views fairly quickly, many of the other characters don't come around until near the end of the film. The individual nature of racism portrayed in the film pushes the directors to a simple and easy narrative close. The reading that complemented this film was Chapter 9.2, written by Jeff Montez. Montez suggests that individualized racism inaccurately describes actual societal change. Racism is institutionalized and systemic and takes more than an individualized approach to truly change. As we see in the film, the redemption of the white characters is placed on the insertion of a black angel. Montes describes how the film portrays racism. The logic of individual racism is that prejudice and discrimination are the products of ignorance and social distance. If we close social distance, people will get to know each other and realize that underneath the superficial difference of skin color, we are really the same. Julius, the character Montes describes as the Black Angel, redeems Jerry's initial interactions by guiding him through his transformation. As far as powerful messages go, Crash emphasizes the free will of real life. Although the representation of racial inequality may be inaccurate, the scenarios and storylines are based on chance and reflect the real choices that people make every day. Free will allowed for each of the characters to interact in the ways that they did, good and bad. More importantly, free will and chance eventually invoke the characters' ability to change and become better people. Remember, the Titans showed that individual choices can be impactful. All of the characters made the choice to go against their initial prejudice and bond over things that were more important. Their choices to accept one another for the people they are, behind race and ethnicity, eventually allowed them to all become better football players, better people, and better friends. Thank you for watching.